Hello, and welcome to Be Prepared Calaveras, the show where we talk about how to stay safe, prepared, and connected in our beautiful Calaveras County communities. I'm your host, Martha Rubin, and today I'll be speaking with Dr. Brookley Shamber Onito from Angels Camp Veterinary Hospital and Emily Wernick, who is a technician there. Together, we will discuss how to keep your pets and large animals safe during emergencies. We'll cover recognizing and responding to heat strokes, seasonal changes during spring and summer, cold weather safety, where to take your animals in an emergency, and recognizing stress in our pets. So thank you, Brookley and Emily, for coming. I'd like you to tell us a little bit about Angels Camp Veterinary Hospital and about yourselves and what goes on there. And then we'll talk about, what to look for in our pets.
I have worked at Angels Camp Vet for about 3 years now. So I'm a pretty new addition, really. The vet hospital's been around for many, many years, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
So I enjoy working there. It's been a great place. And we like taking care of everybody's pets there. Love to see them all.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Emily?
I've been at Angels for 4 years. Brookley started after me, and I was like, oh, another girl, yay. And I love the small animal aspect, but I also love the large animal aspect. Dr. Brookley and I do a lot of large animal together, so that's really fun. But we love seeing all of our patients and all of our clients. We've gotten to know a lot of them.
Okay, so why is it important for pet owners and large animal owners to have an emergency plan in place?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, everybody knows that in this area we deal with lots of, natural disasters, fires, but not only that, we can see, problems with our animals just on a day-to-day basis. There can be emergencies at home. So having a plan in place so that you know how to get them to the vet or wherever you need to go if you're just evacuating is always a good idea.
Like you mentioned, there are a lot of natural disasters that happen up here. So most recently or all year, we do have to worry about fire. So do you have some tips for us to be ready for if there's an emergency? What should we do? Like, how do we move our animals?
Sure. I'll cover the large animal and then you can talk about small. But in general, with large animals, most people are pretty prepared. If you have horses or cows, you know that you've got to have a trailer or someone with a trailer to help you move them. And then having the proper equipment. For example, for cattle, you should really have, some sturdy chutes or nice corrals that you can work them in. And then just make sure that your horses, goats, whatever, are used to being on a trailer so that if you do need to move them in an emergency, you can. And then having ways to label them. One of the things we saw in a previous fire is that sometimes we didn't have time to get them on a trailer and animals would just be turned loose. But if you have a horse, if you can, tie something into its mane with your phone number on it. Some people even resorted to spray painting their phone number on them.
Oh, yeah.
But having stuff ready to do that quickly is very helpful.
Kind of like having a go bag or something for your, large animals, tags. So dogs and cats you chip, but I guess larger animals you don't do that?
Not necessarily. Some horses are microchipped, and you definitely can get, microchips for your goats. It's just not super common. But yeah, usually external identification is going to be most useful for those guys.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to your dogs and your cats, just make sure that your cat is in a safe carrier that won't break or that can't open. Making sure that dogs have tight collars that they can't slip out of. When it's stressful, they want to book it. So just make sure that they're secure, their tags are on. If they are microchipped, their microchip tag is on. Or a harness. They can't really slip out of harnesses. So something like that. And then making sure that all their stuff is ready, medical records, food, if they're on a medication, stuff like that, in a bag prepared.
Oh, yeah, that's a great thing. So I know for myself, I have a go bag with food and water just for Lucy. food and water and her medical records. And says that she's chipped. I even put that on her harness, you know, I'm chipped. Yeah. And I looked at it like, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have that for her. So I wanted to also talk about, so we just finished with summer, but you know, what are some of the things when the hot weather comes? What do we look for in our pets? Aside moving from fire.
Yeah, moving from fire. I will say, you know, even though we're not in summer right now, we actually see a pretty big uptick in heat-related illness in the kind of end season, so spring and fall, because in the spring we're just not thinking about it being hot yet, and so we're not as aware. And then in the fall it starts to cool down and we get those nice days, and then we get shocked by a day or two that's 100 degrees. So we do still see heat illness even in the spring and fall. And heat stroke in dogs and cats can be really deadly. So, you know, definitely there's some stuff to look out for. What are the big things you would look for if you were looking for heat stroke?
There are 3 really big things. You'll notice a lot of lethargy, so they'll be very lethargic, very excessive panting. Sometimes they can vomit just from so much heat illness, just like humans. Those are the 3 things that I could think of when it comes to heat-related illness.
And so when you see that in your animal, what should you do?
You should seek immediate emergency care.
Okay.
From an ER or your primary vet.
Okay. Is there, should we try to wrap them in a cool blanket to bring them, or try to give them some water, or is there some other advice?
Yeah, so, I mean, most people out here do live a little bit further away from the vet clinic, right? So you do have some travel time.
Right.
And during that time, the most important thing is that you get on the road and get going to the vet. But you can quickly take a few minutes, you know, if you're outside with your pet, you can bring them into the AC or put them in a car that has the AC blasting. Just the cooler air will help. And then you can use like cool to lukewarm water. You can drizzle that on them or on their feet. But be really careful. We can actually see worse illness if you immediately dunk them in really cold water. Yeah. So ice water is a no-go. You want just kind of damp towels or a damp cloth and, you know, lukewarm water, and then get them to a vet as fast as you can.
Okay, and it's good, like their feet. Like if it's somebody here, you put them on their hands and their pulse. And
yeah, feet, you can put it in their armpits, on their belly. Those are all kind of areas they lose a lot of heat from, so it'll help cool them faster. Okay, that's great. All right, so what about, do we have to worry about ticks and fleas and rattlesnakes? And everybody likes to go out hiking, and a lot of people live in, you know, ranches, and you have your dogs out there. Yeah. I know a big thing for our clinic is we see a lot of rattlesnake bites. So obviously this area, everybody's active and hiking and likes to take their dogs. There's a lot of things you can do to kind of be prepared for a snake bite, but the best thing to do is to prevent them in the first place. Right. So how do you do that? Yeah, that's a good question. There's a few different ways. There is. You want to talk about that? You could always do a rattlesnake aversion training. There is a company up here that does that. And there's, you know, it's something you can Google easily. There's a lot of traveling people that do the classes. I always also tell people, if you do the aversion training, you may need a refresher course every once in a while with your dog. So don't think just it's a one and done thing. You know, sometimes a refresher every once in a while is a good idea. There's other things like rattlesnake vaccines, and then just kind of knowing where snakes are and avoiding those areas, or teaching your dog a really good recall. So if you're out off leash and you see a snake before they see it, getting them to come back to you and avoid that situation in the first place. Right. Or maybe keeping them on leash? Yeah, or I mean, in an ideal world, anywhere where there's tons of snakes, I would keep your dog on a leash because you can a lot more easily control that situation. Okay, so someone like me out there walking who is not snake savvy, where are we going to find snakes hiding mostly?
Tall brush.
Tall brush. They really like wood piles, places that they can easily hide, but also can get out and sun themselves. Especially like in the mornings, they like to go warm up. So you might find them on rocks or wood stacks. Really rocky areas where you can't see in the crevices are a little bit of a no-go for me with my dog. I try to avoid them and stay on trails.
Yeah.
You can easily see the snakes if you're on a trail.
Right. Well, that usually
When they're
makes
crossing.
better sense anyways for yourself and your dog not to get stuck out there. Okay. So then on the other side of the spectrum, what should we do in extreme cold weather? Because, there's high elevation here in our county, and then it's, there's lower elevations. So we see that there's snow and hail and
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, we're pretty lucky in this area. It does get cold, but not extremely, extremely cold.
Yeah.
If you are up high, then making sure, especially if you have dogs and cats, that they have a warm place to be, whether they're in the house or like a heated dog kennel. And then, pets and people can all get frostbite. So, being conscious of that. If you're out hiking with your dog and their paws are getting freezing, sometimes they won't show you because they're having a great time. But it can actually, pretty negatively affect them. So getting like little booties for your dog if you're gonna go hiking in the snow. And I've seen dogs get pretty bad cuts from ice. So be cautious with that too. But.
Yeah, that is true. So if their paws have frostbite, what exactly would that look like?
It can be tough because they have hair.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see like the classic stuff you'll see with people where you're turning white and then purple. But you can tell a lot just by touching their foot. I mean, if your dog's walking around in the snow, its foot's going to be cold, but it shouldn't be painful. And sometimes in the early stages, it'll be really painful because they're so cold. So if they react, negatively, that's a sign, hey, maybe we better go warm them up.
So just warm them up, or is it like the same thing with heat stroke? Get them in the car, quickly rush?
It depends on how bad it is. I think generally we're pretty good about not putting our pets in that situation.
Yeah.
If they're just a little cold and we're on the early stages, slowly warming them, just getting in your car and warming things up and then putting, even like some little mittens on their feet can help. But you don't want to go too quickly. Yeah, you don't want to just dunk them in hot water because that's also going to hurt.
Yeah, right. The same thing. Like you don't want to dunk them in cold water, I guess.
Yeah.
A little shocking.
Yeah. And then if you feel like there's something still wrong with them, they seem really painful or they're really tender, it's never wrong to bring them in.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Anything to add?
I don't know a lot about frostbite. We
don't see a ton of it.
So just a lot of heat-related injuries, not cold-related injuries.
Yeah. Animals are generally a lot better at handling cold than heat, I will say. So, like for example, cute little Lucy, she's a Frenchie, and they're the cutest dogs. Frenchies, pugs, Bostons, all those little dogs. They can handle cold decently well, even though they have pretty short coats, but they cannot tolerate heat.
Yeah.
And it's just something to do with their anatomy. Those dogs that have a shorter nose, they just can't exchange their oxygen very well and it can't cool them down. So really, really cautious with those guys. Even over like 75, 80 degrees, I tell people, you're taking a little bit of a risk if you're leaving them out.
Or going on a long walk.
Yeah.
Which also brings up the heat of the pavement or ground that they're walking on, because I know I always have to touch the ground, or I'm picking her up and carrying her around, that their feet could get burnt.
Yep. And we have seen some dogs get little burns on their paw pads. So anytime it's hot and sunny, feel the pavement. That's the easiest way to tell. You know, there's like all these things that it's 20 degrees hotter than the temperature outside. I would just feel it. If it's too hot for you to hold your hand on it for a minute, it's probably too hot for your dog to walk on it.
Okay, that's a good tip. Yeah, so people don't realize that. I see a lot of dogs going to the farmer's market or walking around town or out for a hike or something, and it does get hot, and you do have to worry, and they're panting. So carry water, right?
Absolutely.
Always, for your dog and yourself. You know, I have a little sling bag crossbody bag that has bottled water in it, and a little treat and a bowl, and so that's her bag, and then I have my own little bag that I take with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's actually, so here's something really great. She's knows Brooklyn from the vet, and probably Emily too, and Lucy was going to come on, and she's just laying here going, I'm just chilling, I'm not nervous, it's all good. So, so that's a great sign, so thank you for that. You know, she's very comfortable around you.
Yeah.
So what about stress for animals, like just anxiety, or if you leave them, or it's hot, it's cold, they're afraid of something. Are there ways, one, to notice, to notice, and then also how would you treat that?
Yeah, I think stress is something we deal with a lot at the vet clinic, because most people know, as much as we love your pets, they don't always want to come see us. And so we see a lot of stressed animals, and not everybody recognizes the signs. But like, what would you say is the classic cat thing that we see when they're stressed out?
They pant.
They can pant?
They can pant.
Yeah.
That's a very good sign. Aggression.
Yeah, sometimes they can get upset. I was thinking, like, when we get a really stressed cat in the hospital, a lot of times they'll just freeze.
Oh yes, they do freeze.
They
get
freeze
really scared.
and not move. And a lot of people think, oh, that's a good sign, you know, my cat's calm. But sometimes your cat being totally frozen and not wanting to move is a sign that they're really stressed out.
Oh, I've never heard that. So I guess our listeners haven't heard that either. So that's a great thing to look for.
Yeah. So like if your cat's hiding and stressed and just not wanting to move during an emergency or whatever, those are things you can look for and try to reduce their stress. One of the best ways to reduce stress in cats especially is to kind of plan ahead and work on training with them. Most people don't train their cats.
Yeah, kind of
getting them used.
Train your cat.
Training a cat sounds crazy, but it doesn't have to be anything special. Just like getting them used to going in a carrier.
Yeah.
Because that often is a big trigger for cats. Because the only time they go in the carrier is to come to the vet.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Getting them used to a positive time in the carrier, so that if you have to evacuate, it's easy to get them in.
Yeah, I just leave mine out all day.
Yeah.
And she goes in and out of it, like
it's
kind of like a
dog
bed,
crate.
kind of, yeah. And she'll go in it and lay in it, so it's like she knows that that's like a safe place for her. She's never scared of it. So that I started that when she was really young, because I just left it out, and she can smell it. And after the vet, I leave it out for a while, so she knows like, oh, it's I went there, it's okay.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because you don't really take your cats visiting with you to other people's houses, and like we take our dogs. And so cats usually only go into the carrier if they're going to the vet or they're going to, a kennel or something, to stay. And so getting them used to that is a great idea. And so what about dogs? What do you look for for dogs?
Dogs are they're a little easier to read, I would say. Most dogs you can tell if they're really stressed. They're going to have their ears kind of back. They're going to be panting really heavily.
Yeah.
Maybe their eyes are open really wide. Maybe they're trembling if they're a little chihuahua, So there's a lot of more obvious signs, I think, of stress. But it's the same basic principles to reduce the stress. You want them used to new environments. So try to take them places if you can before there's an emergency or they need to go to the vet. That way it's a good experience. And then you're not stressed during an actual emergency. And we have the advantage of being at a vet hospital. So I always talk to my clients if they have a really stressed animal about maybe do we need to have some drugs on hand, something that we can give them that's just a mild sedative that can help reduce their anxiety, especially if you're going to be going on a big trip.
Yeah,
or
like a car ride or something.
Yeah, or your dog's going to have to be boarded because you're evacuated for a fire. It's nice to have those things already done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then some animals have will have a tick or flea infestation, and they'll be scratching and itching. So maybe that could be also misdiagnosed, not by you, but by us, as they're stressed, or maybe they're itching and they're scratching, and we as lay people go, or owners go, oh, they must have fleas or ticks or something, but they're really just stressed. So is there, you can check for something like that?
I feel like I noticed paw licking is a little bit more of like a stress anxiety thing versus like a scratch.
Yeah, although I will say a lot of people misinterpret licking as this is their, stress relieving behavior. They do this and it's just a habit.
A soothing thing.
Yeah, I most of the time would say actually those pets do have some underlying condition that's making them itchy. Itchy paws and itchy ears really go together, and a lot of times that means we have either like a food allergy or an environmental allergy or a parasite, like fleas or ticks.
Right.
So for those types of things, really recommend everybody get their pet evaluated by a vet, because we can help kind of rule out some of those other things and make sure it's, not just a weird habit that they have.
Yeah. And there's preventatives for fleas and ticks too. So like a yearly something you take, or you take something monthly, prescribed for your animal.
Yeah, and we have a ton of new options. It used to be back in the day, just like there was one thing, for heartworm, and then there was Frontline for fleas and ticks, Now there's tons of different options. Not every preventative is created equally either, so you have to be a little careful. But yeah, most of them are monthly. Another big thing I tell people in this area, we have this little feeling that fleas and ticks are only a problem in the summer. But we actually just learned, we had a nice little lecture by someone, that fleas and ticks are most active in cooler weather. So,
I didn't know that.
We really need to have them on prevention year-round, especially somewhere like here where we don't get those big, heavy freezes in the winter. We really need them on something to prevent that all year.
Okay. So, is there any other tips? Did I miss any questions? Things that you wanted to talk about staying safe? Staying safe. I just wanted to bring, like I take Lucy with me in the car, and she wears a harness, and then you can get these handy dandy, seatbelt things for your dog, so they don't go flying through the windshield or into the next, if they're in the back, into the front. But are there any new things or things that we should do to prevent accidents?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good
think
question.
of any?
No.
I like the seatbelt idea.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I use that for my dogs. The other thing too, if your dog doesn't tolerate a seatbelt or whatever, just having them in a secure carrier, having them crate trained so that when they're in a vehicle, they're at least confined to like a small area. It's safer for you and your pet, because we don't necessarily want a dog jumping on your lap while you're trying to drive either.
Right, exactly.
Which would be a problem if my dog wasn't locked up.
Yeah.
So, those are very helpful.
Yes, yeah.
And like life jackets.
Life jackets.
Oh, that's right. I meant to bring Lucy's life jacket, and I forgot that. Boating.
Boating.
That's
a lot
big
of people take their dogs on
thing,
boats.
We love to, you see out there, look at the dog on the paddleboard or the kayak, and sometimes they have a life jacket and sometimes not. So,
yeah. And it's kind of like with people. Some dogs are excellent swimmers, but even an excellent swimmer can get too tired. And I've seen that with like Labradors. They love to swim, but they'll swim until they're blue in the face, and and then they really need the life jacket. So I think that's a good thing to have if you're going to do a lot of water activities with your dog.
yeah. So let's say you're out like at Lake Alpine, or maybe, I don't know if Lake Comanche is cold too, but Alpine I know is cold, and your dog's out there playing and doing. Is there a way to, are they shiver? I guess they shiver if they're too cold, or they're just having a good time and they're out there until something, until they're too tired or too cold.
Yeah. I think Yeah, they'll start to shiver. You can tell they'll act a little cold. They'll act maybe a little bit more lethargic or subdued if they're really cold. A lot of it's using common sense too, knowing your pet, knowing the temperature, if they can handle it or not. The big thing too that people sometimes forget is as animals age, they may still act like a puppy, but they're going to be more susceptible to cold and heat.
Yeah.
So be careful with your older dogs.
Okay. Well, we're almost out of time, so I just wanted to ask if there's one final bit of information of course, we want to have some information about the hospital, resources. How do we get in touch with you? Where you're located?
We're in Angels Camp. We're on your way to Angels Camp off the side of Highway 49. It's called Angels Camp Veterinary Hospital. We're right there on Deer Creek Road. You'll see our cute little donkey bush out front. That's us.
I thought it was a horse.
It's a horse.
It's looking more and more like a donkey.
It's looking more like a donkey.
Yeah.
As the years go on, the ears are getting bigger.
His ears are pointy. You'll see us there. You can always call us. We're always available during the day from 8 to 5. And we'd love to see you. We love new pets. We love new patients.
Yeah.
And all of our existing patients, obviously, like Miss Lucy.
Lucy, come.
Lucy.
Come on. Yeah, we'll introduce
show off?
Lucy just before we go because she's been so good. That's Lucy. And she's like sitting here so nice and calm with you guys. So
Such a good
make
girl.
sure it's a good sign.
Good girl.
She loves going. Everybody loves her, and it's a great experience. So if you do have any questions, make sure to give them a call, check their website. So I want to thank you for coming in and sharing important information. And as we know, emergencies come in many forms. And so being prepared is not only important for us, but for our animal friends as well. And so please reach out to your local veterinarian or hospital, and together as a community, we can build a safer, more connected Calaveras, not for just ourselves, our animals, and our friends. And thank you for tuning in to Be Prepared, Calaveras. And thank you both, Brooklyn and Emily, for coming in.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yes.
Yeah, thanks.